time for that jukebox putting out them good tunes.
All right, everybody. How are you this evening? What's up, Topsy? Thank you for that host, man. Appreciate it. Welcome to the second episode of Super Metroid Strat Chat. I'm here with True Moss, the other host. Moss, you there?
I'm here. How's it going, Kipp?
Oh, it's going well, dude. How are you?
I'm great.
So I'm really excited. We had our first episode 2 weeks ago, and it went really well. Got a lot of good feedback. Saw some things that went well, saw some things that we can continue to work on, and I'm excited to go again.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So real quick, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to our special guest, I'll just throw up, let's talk through what this is supposed to be. Here's some stats on myself and True Moss. You know, we have times in other categories as well, but I just wanted to kind of list the main four categories just so everybody can see that, you know, both of us are relatively experienced runners across multiple categories. And we're both educators and we both really love talking about Super Metroid. So we decided to kind of put this together to help a lot of people out, regardless of what skill level you are. You know, whether you've been playing a long time, a short amount of time, no matter if your PB is like a, 110 and 80% or a 50, whatever. We just kind of wanted to have some opportunities to talk to people and, go through some concepts that they might could learn from. So anything new been going on with you lately, Moss, in the world of SM?
Yeah, two big things. Since we last spoke, I bopped you in low ice.
That's true.
And then since we last spoke, you bopped me back.
That's correct.
I had ninth place for a grand total of 6 hours before Sloters bopped me, and then you did right after.
Yeah, well, now you know how I feel because I got the ninth place time, and I was feeling all good about myself. And then within like 24 hours, both you and Sloters beat me, and so then I had to put my game face on and try to get back in there. But I'm sure, I've talked to Sloters. He's trying to push it to a 54. That's what I would like to do. I know you would as well. So I'm sure eventually we'll all get there. But it's really cool that all three of us are running it at the same time. It's been a lot of fun watching you guys.
Yeah, the since our last, we were talking about the climb in our last chat, and I made the switch actually this week. I swapped. I'm now doing ledge grabbing.
Well, welcome to the club.
Yeah, after 5 minutes of practicing, I was getting 12s, and I had to it took me hours and hours of wall jumping to get 12s sometimes. So I was like, oh well.
Well, I think you just got to accept that the wall climb is only for the super true professionals, which is a good segue to get to. We're really both excited here. I'm going to put up some stats here. We have a special guest tonight, the one and only master of Super Metroid himself, Zoast, is here, and I've got a little screen that I put up that's got a picture of him on it. It's got his channel. I'm sure every single person in here has been to his channel before, and I've listed a bunch of his times up here. But as you can see, he is one of the single most, if not the single most accomplished runner in Super Metroid history. Zoast, how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing lovely.
Well, I really appreciate you being willing to come on and speak with us.
Yeah, we both do.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I think really this was when True Moss decided he texted me or whatever and was like, hey, maybe we should do this Strat Chat thing. It'd be fun. The first thing I thought of was like, this is my excuse to talk to a lot of players that are better than me.
Yeah, I think y'all are like you said, with the educational background. I think that's a good fit for y'all.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so we're gonna talk to you about some Super Metroid related things in terms of strats or how you practice and stuff. But I want to start off, just kind of relaxing, talking with you. I know there's a lot of people that follow you. I mean, every single night, I'm not trying to embarrass you, but every single night that you stream, you have hundreds, if not thousands of people watching. And especially, like, for me personally, I didn't start running this game until, basically February or January of this year. And so, it was really exciting for me when I was first learning the game to watch you kind of come back and blast through all these categories. Like, within the last calendar year, you set world records in low ice. You set new and crazy dominant records in RBO. You got the 80% world record back for a while, and you're still currently grinding on that. So it's been a really big year for you. Can you just talk us through a little bit about 2017? What was it like doing all those different things?
Well, it's been an important year for me because I'm focusing on this solely. So it's been going kind of well. I mean, I've had some hiccups, of course, but it's life, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, SGDQ, the run was scary to say the least, but I made it through. So it's been a pretty good year. I'd have to agree with you. Okay,
awesome. And just for everybody who's present, you set new world records in 3 different categories, and I can't remember if you've done any of this, some of the other ones, but I kind of consider those to be the main 4. And in particular, when you did RBO, you not only set that record, but you kind of smashed the previous record in a way that I'd never really seen before. What was it like, when did you kind of decide, hey, I really want to spend some time on this category and see how far I can push it?
I don't really remember the initial my initial thoughts about that. I've always been a big fan of RBO. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, since the early beginnings of it being speedran. I was one of the first to really speedrun it, besides Desi and perhaps Hypo. I'm not sure. I can't remember the timeline exactly, but it's always been a special category, I guess you'd say, to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Which, to some people, it's more like a niche category, I suppose, but I really love it. It's amazing that you can do that with this game. It's amazing that it's possible without any major glitches. Of course, in the past, it's had major glitches, but that's just splitting hairs, I guess.
Sure. And you know what? Now that you mention it, I think that was part of the reason why I found it so fascinating when I was new to the game, because a lot of the stuff that you did in that run I had literally never seen before. In particular, I remember literally laughing out loud, at home alone, the first time I saw you do the grapple jump up an aqueduct, and I was just flabbergasted as to how that was even possible, and it was just so funny. But
I didn't really expect to smash the record per se. I knew it was very improvable, and I knew I was aware of what I thought was a better route. And I thought I'd shared that with Stray and everybody. I mean, maybe I didn't do enough to do that. It's not that huge of a deal, really, my route versus the route he used. But it was more just I felt like playing it again. I like to switch around different categories. It kind of keeps things fresh for me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more fun to do that, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially for you having played for so long, I'm sure that's, you wouldn't want to sit on the exact same thing for forever or whatever. I'm sure it makes it more fun for you to experiment with different things. But
Yeah.
speaking of which, like, let's talk for a minute about your like way background. Okay, like how old were you the first time that you played Super Metroid at all, like even casually?
Um, Boy, you're gonna really reveal my age here.
Well,
I
did
think
did
I
you,
was.
how about this? Did you play it when it came out? Like, did you
No, I
play it when
didn't.
it? Oh, okay.
I didn't play it until I was about um, 31.
Oh, wow. So you never played it at all until you were like an adult?
Yeah, I never played it at all.
Okay,
I,
so
I played Metroid 1, but that was the only other Metroid I really played. I remember renting Metroid 1 as a kid and just getting lost as hell and saying, screw this. And I didn't have the patience for that at the time. And by the time Super Metroid came out, I was hooked on like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. That's what I was all about.
gotcha.
So it wasn't really on my radar as a kid. Yeah, I'd seen it in like top 5 best SNES games list over and over. But what happened was one of my buddies gave me a copy of it. Just he had an extra and he just gave it to me and I ended up playing it. And I went and watched Totarubi's SDA run and that hooked me. That's really what I won't say that's what got me speedrunning, but that's what got me speedrunning Super Metroid.
So it was like specifically speedrunning the game that got you interested in playing Super Metroid.
No, I played it casually first.
Okay.
And then I watched Totarubi. I didn't watch it until after I played through it casually.
Okay, and see, that's where I kind of want to go with this, which is, and again, this is just sort of my personal opinion. Like, I didn't think this because I ran the game. I started running the game because I would watch you guys at GDQ, and like the first time I saw, runners like you doing the things that this game was actually capable of having in it, it blew my mind. Like, I'd never thought that something like that could really occur. And so when you played it the first time, I always find it fascinating that the first casual playthrough of Super Metroid is so vastly different from what a speedrun is. And I realize that any game can be different, but like there's a lot of games that just sort of really naturally lend themselves to speedrunning, like simple games where you just kind of run fast and jump and you're just going left to right the whole time. But a game like this, it's like an exploration game, and then out of nowhere it turns into this thing that's like crazy and has all this tech in it. So what was your sort of reaction to your first playthrough? Like, did you find getting lost, and then like finding your way around really fascinating, or did it ever frustrate you?
Well, I'll have to back up a little bit. My first playthrough was a couple of friends, so we kind of traded off on it a little bit, and one of them kind of knew the game a little bit. He didn't really spoil it for us, but I didn't get too lost because of that. I don't think he really held her hands so much, but it wasn't that arduous for me. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it was just something me and a couple of friends did together.
Gotcha. And so, and then you said you pretty much immediately got into seeing Hotarubi's run and kind of wanting to
Pretty
speed
soon
run it.
after that. Yeah, pretty soon after that.
So were you speedrunning anything else prior to speedrunning Super Metroid?
Yes. Symphony of the Night.
Oh, that's right.
I'm a member of the Mini Bosses message forum, the Shiz, and one of my friends on there was started because there's like a time attack mode, or not mode, but there's a display in Symphony of the Night that shows you in-game times for like checkpoints.
Oh,
It's
neat.
almost like it's like an in-game time split timer sort of Symphony of the Night, and we used to sort of race. We would just post on the board, our times. That was just like a friendly competition, and that became really the first real speedrunning I did. Back in the early 2000s, I actually, for a brief period of time, would see how fast I could beat Ninja Gaiden 1 with my I'd use my watch and the timer on my watch,
Yeah.
So I guess that would technically be my first speed run. I don't. My goal was to beat it in under 15 minutes. I don't know if I can ever achieve that, but as far as seriously speedrunning, I'd say Symphony of the Night was my first. But that didn't go on too long before I got into Super Metroid. That was probably 3 or 4 months before I got into Super Metroid.
Gotcha. And so obviously there's a lot of people that run Super Metroid, whether, really trying to push their times down or just kind of casually because it's so much fun. What was it specifically? Like, I know there's probably not just one thing, but what was it about Super Metroid that made you want to continue to speedrun it as opposed to just kind of, do it for a little while?
After I got started,
Yeah.
definitely the community and the fact that and speedruns live really was one of the big reasons. Just I thought it was really cool to see the live racing and the fact that they had like a big because the weekly race used to be when I got started. It had a stronger community sort of involvement, I'd say, than it does now, and it was just really cool to see. I thought the idea of racing live was really fun, and between that and the community and just wanting to get better and just I'm sort of somebody that motivated by success. So like once I started getting good at the game, it just pushes me to get even better, sort of.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand. So, so talk us through then. You started playing, and I think you told me the other night that your first world record, unless I'm mistaken, was you got a hundo world record. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you said you got it within a year of starting to play. Is that correct?
I think it was with about 6 months.
Man, that blows my mind. I've been playing for longer than that, and like I can't even come close to anything like that.
The 100% record was not nearly as optimized,
Sure,
as it is now for sure. But there were people there was definitely a number of people that were playing it pretty regularly. Like back then, there was like I always think of 3 big runners when I started that were that in my mind are 100% runners. Apathe, Desurect, and Chronic Sauce, and they were all playing 100% at the time too. But we, everybody was trying to beat Hodorubi's time, and
So Kipp, so going to that point, like, when was was there a moment where you kind of started realizing, like, hey, I could probably break this world record? Was there like a one run where you got a specific time you were like, oh, this is totally in my abilities at this point?
Probably. I mean, I can't remember the exact time frame, but I'm sure I realized that at some point, or I felt that. I know I felt that at some point that I could beat it. The interesting thing was like they all went for a different route than you would. If nobody was around back then, they wouldn't expect the route that everybody was doing back then. All 3 of them were doing a kind of a strange route.
Huh.
And Desi had made a big spreadsheet about using segmented sort of tasks to like compile the best times for every route. But there was an error in the spreadsheet, and eventually I found that error. But I started running like Hodorubi's old route, sort of it's actually Desi's route as well, but anyway, like, I don't know if that had a factor to do with it, but Desi was the first one to actually succeed in beating Hodorubi, but I got it right after he did.
So, to piggyback off of that, you have broken. I don't know if you've kept track. I mean, I have no idea how many it is in terms of like, you get a record, then maybe somebody gets it, then you get it back or whatever. Like, you've probably broken records like 50 times, if not more, or whatever. And I guess technically, if you even better your own records, probably even more. It's
like 105 to 110, something like that.
Okay, so at this point, one would assume like, oh, well, you've done it so many times, it's got to be kind of normal. But I bet it's not. Like, I bet you still, especially now with things becoming so optimized, like whenever you're on a run that has the potential to world record, is nerves still a factor? Like, is that something that you have to think about and manage?
Absolutely. It's always a factor.
So, like, because 99.9% people won't understand. Like, how does it affect you?
Me personally, I don't think it's okay to be nervous, in my opinion. Like, being nervous is not bad. It's normal. If you care about what you're doing and you have a chance to do that, you're gonna be. That's just the nature of it.
Sure.
I think maybe a good word for it would be managing your nerves, or not letting them cripple you. You know, like if you're nervous and you just really get into this focused state, sometimes it can be a good thing. You know, it can cause you to really get a more intense level of focus than you normally would be, you know, achieving.
Yeah, I bet it's a bit of a rush too. I mean, like I guess it can be kind of fun.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. That's what it's all about, the rush.
So speaking of which, then, like that leads me to the next thing I wanted to ask you about. So, you know, clearly, not only are you super experienced and you've done all kinds of things, like in terms of getting times, but you've also been at the forefront of a lot of big events that feature Super Metroid in particular. You know, the GDQ events throughout the years, and being involved in either races or, you know, solo performances or whatever. And you know, I've seen videos of you playing in a tiny room in front of like 20 people, and then now this year you probably were in front of like, I don't know, 7, 8, 900, maybe 1,000. I don't know how many people were in the room. So what's it like to be in that environment? And clearly, you know, in those runs, you're not explicitly trying to set a world record or something like that, but you're just trying to, you know, perform and go as fast as you can. And you know, so many people are watching. And you're in a foreign environment, you know, you have a TV that you're in a room that's different than what you're accustomed to at home. What's it like to experience those things?
Well, going back to the nerves thing, GDQ, I get more nerves than ever. Even world record paces, like GDQ is just so nerve wracking because you only get one shot at it. Like if you lose a world record pace run, well, you can just restart, you know, you'll get another one.
Sure.
GDQ is just very nerve wracking. It's an awesome experience. You know, being able to do that live, but yeah, I mean, the nerves are just so huge.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to categorize, but do you have a moment from any GDQ that stands out to you that you just remember like very fondly, being like a really fun time for you?
The karaoke. Going to karaoke with some of the community and stuff like that is probably one of my favorite events or recurring events.
So the speed run of the karaoke was the best part?
Yeah. I mean, the runs are cool too, but really the most fun you have at GDQ is friends, I'd say.
Gotcha. Okay, well, Moss, you got some stuff. Let's start kind of turning this over to some questions about, you know, practice or strats or how you approach the game on a technical level before we get into our, you know, strat portion tonight, where me and Moss show some of the people some strats for old route stuff. So, Moss, I'll let you ask a couple questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Kipp and I are both teachers, and we both, you know, we're both musicians. One of the things that I talk about a lot with my students is, you know, the importance of practice, of course. But beyond that, I try to emphasize like trying to figure out the best way, the most efficient way for you to practice. You know, 10 minutes of practicing the right way is way better than an hour of practicing the wrong way, you know?
Sure.
And so I'm curious, like, you know, obviously a lot of people watch you just, you know, practice for hours and hours, but like, what goes through your head when you're, you know, starting to practice? Do you always have a goal in your mind of what you're going to do in the day, or?
No, I mean, I'm pretty freeform with it. I do believe what you're saying, though, that you need to practice the right ways, and there's a method to it, or there's ways to do it right better than, you know, there's better ways to do it and worse ways to do it.
Yeah. Sure.
Usually I'll, you know, if I'm already running a category, usually I'll hit, you know, I'll focus on things that I've been having problems with, of course. I think it's good to not only do like rooms and by themselves, but it's also good to do like stretches of rooms, you know, to get the feel for the flow of it. I think it's good to, if you're having a problem with something, to really stop and figure out why you're having a problem with it, because just hammering on it's not always going to fix it. You know, if you really figure out what your problem is, then that's worth a lot more. You know, that's a more efficient use of your time if you can really identify what your problem with it. If there's an easier way mechanically to do it, if there's like a visual cue that you can make it more consistent, there's definitely a mental aspect to practice, figuring out easier ways to do things and better ways to do things, whether it be faster or more consistent. Both of them have lots of merit. Not just faster stats, but finding out a more consistent way to do it, whether it's mechanically or by some sort of cue.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when I like to sort of think of when you're practicing that, there's ways that you can improve on your best, and there's also ways to improve on your worst. I feel like a lot of people, when they're practicing, they spend a lot of time working on improving their best. And, so like spending time just, like taking like Attic as an example, spending time just trying to nail that one perfect, 10-second way getting through the room. But if you're not practicing your worst, then you have a big window of, 10 seconds through the room, or if things go really bad, 25, 30 seconds through the room with terrible ammo. I mean, do you find you do lots of practicing of like, you'll do a room and like try to focus on getting through the room no matter what, and kind of setting like a minimum goal for what you're trying to get through the room with, or?
I think it's a mix for me. Sometimes I'll obviously try to work on the fastest way through the room, but I think it's very important to develop, being able to recover as well. Like, I totally agree with you. And sort of, I thought you were going this way with the question. I think another important thing is, I try to tell people when they first start, don't worry about little room strats that are really impressive so much. If you want to improve faster, like, work on the stuff that applies to the whole run, like mock balling, or I think people focus on single small things too much sometimes when they could be focusing on things that could help them a little bit quicker, like mock balls, shine sparking, and short charging, and wall jumping, and ledge grabbing, stuff that applies throughout the whole run and will help you in any run, really, or most runs.
Dude, I could not agree more with you. That is probably one of the only things that I find somewhat frustrating sometimes about Twitch or Super Metroid or just speedrunning in general. Is like, a lot of people want to be like, well, why don't you do this strat? And they'll talk about maybe like one of the single hardest strats there is in the whole run. And
I've heard new players be like, they have like a time that's maybe 10 or 15 minutes off the record, and they're like, if I could only get this Fantoon quick kill, I'd be doing really well. And I'm like, well, you're losing a lot more time in other places.
Right.
It's way easier to, or whatever. You know where I'm going with this.
Of course. Yeah. Or like,
it's like, again, as a music teacher, it's like, well, practice your scales. Like, it's boring sometimes, but like for everything you do, it's gonna, in Super Metroid, practicing your fundamentals, your ledge grabs, all that stuff. Like, day one, start doing that stuff. And, it's not as glamorous, of course, right? But,
sure.
Some people, though, like, I talk to people who are like, yeah, but I love, when Samus looks like a badass. And so, like, I'm always trying for the hardest stuff because it just looks awesome, right?
Yeah.
Hey, having a 6 short charge is pretty glamorous.
Yeah.
It is pretty glamorous,
although you really don't need a 6 short charge for very much.
Well, I mean, it cracks me up. It's like, people will have like, I don't know, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, like a 58 in any percent or whatever. And they're like, all right, time to get on the full half. And I'm like, you might just want to let that one rest for a little while and maybe work on something else. Right. You don't have to do the quote unquote swag as you pointed out.
I kind of try to temper my views with this, because if people are having fun, you learning their room strats, and so be it.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to get better,
that's
to
the
really
key,
improve. Yeah. There's focusing on fundamentals is huge, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have rooms that you like? You have like favorite rooms you like to practice in? Like if you're practicing, ledge grabbing or something like that, do you have go-to places that you like to go to?
Ledge grabbing is something I don't ask. That's kind of one thing that you kind of. It's hard to really practice that too much because every ledge grab is sort of different.
Yeah.
I learned the short charge in the ship room. I mean, that's the only thing I can really say.
Yeah, up at the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I remember. I'm gonna put it in the chat, guys. This is a link to Zoast's tutorial from way back when. and that's where I learned to short charge because of watching his tutorial. So I'm gonna put that in there. That tutorial, by the way, is those like a couple of strats maybe are a little outdated, but like pretty much everything in that works. Still like 4 years later, like it still is an excellent tutorial. And anyone who hasn't watched it, go check it out.
Oh, thanks. I think it could be probably condensed a little bit, but for like just a one take tutorial, I guess it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah, it took me several days watching it when I was getting started. And I even returned to it periodically because obviously, like, even almost a year later, there's still so much about it that, I can't do or haven't figured out. But True Moss, why don't you take a moment? If Zoast taught you how to short charge and technically you tried to teach me, do you want to explain to everybody your method for teaching me how to short charge? I'm sure Zoast will appreciate this as well.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out a very simple, consistent way to get a stud or 3. And I kind of realized after a little bit of time that like your initial stutter and your first tap, it sounds kind of like a shuffle rhythm. Ba, 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 ba. So if you're running to the right tap, so you can kind of get like a shuffle rhythm. And I kind of started realizing that, the following taps, you can actually tap at a consistent tempo and get a pretty good short charge. And I was trying to find a song that worked. And I ended up finding The Name of the Game by ABBA is like
nice.
The best song for short charging. Like I can do a stutter 3 tap in like the first room in Meridia with listening to that song all day. So yeah, awesome. That's how I got Kipp into doing short charge.
Yeah, and for those of you watching the stream currently, y'all can see my face because I've got my camera on. This is my face when I was watching True Moss's video that he made for me for when he talked to me about this song. As soon as it started playing, he was like, "You need to play this song over and over and learn to short charge." I was like, y'all can imagine what face I'm making. So I find this funny because it's like, Zoast, you're known for listening to like excellent music, like even tonight you were playing your vinyl record collection, you were playing some Yes and some other stuff. Not that I'm saying anything necessarily terrible about ABBA, but I'm just me personally. If I was going to sit around and listen to one song for a long stretch, it probably wouldn't have been them.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so all right. So before we get done here, Zoast, let me ask you 2 more things. Number one, Moss mentioned the sort of musician thing. You're a musician. Moss is a musician. I'm a musician. And yep. I've heard a lot of people talk about the sort of parallel in some ways between music and speedrunning. And I actually personally just kind of feel like it is there. Do you see the connection, or like does it affect you in any way? Like, have you ever thought about it before?
Sure. I like to make analogies in music when I'm trying to explain things a lot of times. I don't think it's like a huge deal. I don't think it's a deal breaker or anything, but I think a musician kind of has a sort of a jump start as far as understanding, the practice thing is like, it's because music practice is muscle memory to some extent,
Sure.
And I just think there are definitely similarities between the two. It's not like a deal breaker if you're not a musician, you can still be a good speedrunner, but
of course.
I think it's helpful because a good musician will understand how to practice well, just slow, because in music you have to slow down to get good. You can't just, everybody in music tells you if you can't play something, don't try to play it at speed. Slow down so you can play it right. Really think about what you're doing, and then walk before you can crawl. I mean, crawl before you walk, and walk before you run.
Hold that thought. Reverse it.
So it applies to speedrunning too. I think you just sort of have a little bit of a jump start as far as muscle memory and understanding how to practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think musicians are also, generally somewhat detail oriented in terms of.
Sure. Yeah,
so that probably, lends itself to Super Metroid as well.
Sure.
Speak for yourself. I'm not. I just get on stage and get the free drinks and just let it rip. But maybe that shows itself in my speedrunning as well. But anyway, so Zoast, before we get done here, I've got a few closing remarks about you. But beforehand, will you just talk us through what your current upcoming plans are? Maybe for the next couple months or so. Like, you were in the rando tournament that took up some time. I know you did some practice for that, which took you away from other categories that you could have been doing. Right now, seems like you're back on the new route 80%. So what's kind of on your agenda currently? Like, what are your goals?
This is an easy one. Any percent, and then any percent, and then some more 80%, and then maybe some any percent after that.
Well,
no, I might pick up low speed just so I can, if I get frustrated with Fantune being a butthead, I can take a quote unquote mediocre Fantune kill time and do a low percent speed run and have a chance at PBing or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I may pick up low speed or something.
Yeah, I've been doing that recently a little bit, and my goodness, I die a lot to Mother Brain in that fight. It's
tough.
Yeah, and the speed Zeb skip as well.
Yeah.
But
so,
go ahead.
Today we're talking specifically Brinstar through to Kraid. Before we let you go, is there anything that specifically about that segment for old any percent that you any tips or things you want to say about that section?
Oh God. How do you do it old route again? I have no idea.
For those listening, be reminded that we're currently talking to, if old route was its own category, we're talking to the still world record holder.
Yeah, that's right.
Skip Spazer, kids.
There, yeah. Hey, we are stopping right there. No, I want that to be the last thing you say. I want everybody to know how bad Spazer is. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah. If you're new, don't skip anything. Don't skip anything that you. Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you about the Brinstar reserve tank, because I think a lot of people tend to keep grabbing Spazer longer than they keep that reserve tank, and I think that it's the reserve tank can kind of help you for a lot further into your game than Spazer can.
Yeah, I think reserve tank's more helpful than Spazer probably, because reserve tank will keep you alive. Spazer's almost more of a convenience thing, really. I mean,
yeah. I would even think that if you're trying to drop an E-tank in your run, so if you're going from 5 tanks to 4, as a transfer, grabbing that reserve tank kind of it'll help you, you can continue the run and have basically the same health as you had before, but you get that mental stop. If you trigger your reserve tank, it's okay, I can't successfully run with 4 E-tanks yet. I can finish it, of course, but you can kind of use the reserve tank as the goal is to finish it without having to trip it. And once you can do that consistently, well, then you don't need it anymore.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. The reserve tank's a really good safety. I mean, if I was race for Friday night races, if I was racing just to win, I wouldn't get that reserve tank. If that's the only reason I was racing to win the race, I would get it even now.
Yeah.
Because in new route, there's no other tank you can get that's going to keep you safe. That's that close. Until you get to Ridley E-tank or Firefly, and by that point, you're already having a chance of dying to Fantune and getting to those tanks in the Northern Warfare. So the Brinstar Reserve's a really good pickup for safety. It should not be overlooked. I agree.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, Zoast, before we release you, a couple things. Number one, I'm glad to hear you're doing any percent. It's always fun to watch you grind a category and pursue your goals. Just do me a favor, when you decide to do something else, just don't return to Spore Spawn, because I finally beat you in a category, and I'd really like to keep that. I've got you by a second, and man, let me tell you, I worked hard for that second. So just let me hold on to that, please. But
all right.
But
I can do that.
But in all seriousness, I've told you this before. This isn't just about me. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people. You're a really big inspiration for a lot of people. You get a lot of people interested in the game. It's really inspiring watching you work hard and grind towards your goal and try to get better. And I think you've got such a great positive attitude about it. So we wish you nothing but the best of luck. And thank you so much for coming on Strat Chat tonight, man.
Well, thank you, man. No problem.
And I'll probably be seeing you later this evening, assuming that you do some runs. So good luck and have a good evening, man.
Thanks, Zoast.
You too. No problem.
All right,
have a good one.
You too. So I'm going to call Moss back here on a separate call, and want to once again give a big shout out to Zoast. He's such an excellent, cool guy, and I can't say enough nice things about him. So let me get Moss on the line here. All right.
Alrighty.
All right. So do me a quick favor, Moss. Go ahead and share your screen with me so I can get it set up in the OBS.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on now to the Strat portion of the show. We ran a little bit over on the guest part, but to be quite frank, I don't think anybody's ever going to complain about getting to hang out and talk with Zoast for a little bit. So what we're going to talk about tonight is we picked up 2 weeks ago. We're working on some old route stuff, and we picked up, or I guess we left off at the elevator in Green Brinstar. So let me go ahead and just kind of show you on my screen where that is. This is where we currently are. Yeah, so right here, basically heading down to Kraid. And so what our goal tonight is going to be is we're going to try to go a little bit faster. We talked about some things to make Strat Chat more efficient and better for the viewers. We're going to basically play 2 roles. My role is to show you guys 1 or 2 things you can do. Like, I'm going to gear some of my strats that I'm going to show you tonight to completely brand new people who have almost no experience, okay? So if you're wondering, like, I'm just going to tell everybody right now, as soon as you start typing, that's not fast enough, or you can go faster, just remember that some people, especially at the beginning, don't have the literal mechanical ability to pull off a bunch of super hard moves immediately. And it took all of us some time to get to where we could do a lot of these moves. So I'm going to show a few sort of easy and then sort of medium strats for speed. And then I'm going to turn it over to Moss to kind of show some of the more advanced stuff. And we're going to try to do that progression from slow, medium to fast in every single room. And so that way we kind of have 2 different roles and, we're not talking all over each other. So this is where we are. You'll notice that if you do the walkthrough of the pirates in the previous couple of rooms, you always get to this point typically with 139 health and 5 missiles, okay? So the first thing you're going to notice is, when I jump off here, these guys are actually moving. These little crab guys are moving as soon as you get in the room. Like right now, that first little guy right there is like on the edge here. But if I like wait for 2 seconds or something and then I go down, he's not there anymore, okay? So just be aware, I think these guys are basically on global room timers. So the first thing that I typically would try to learn to do if I was new is basically just walk off this ledge, okay? And just butt up against, totally press left and butt up against the elevator. And then you can just basically hold down and shoot. If you shoot twice, you're going to kill the guy, okay? And he's going to drop health every time, assuming you're full on missiles, right? So basically, you can just shoot twice and then literally just run off, and you won't run into anything. So you can hug this thing, and then you can hug this thing, and you'll land right where you need to be, okay? That's like the easiest way you could do it. One thing you could try as sort of a medium thing is just shooting and then, going left and then back to the right a little bit, and you can actually still get through here without getting hit, okay? And so at this point, after you shoot your initial shots, you also want to select missiles so that you can get in range here, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and show the next room as well, because these 2 kind of work in conjunction with each other. And then I'm going to let True Moss do the next 2 rooms as well. So this is literally the first moment of the game where you have a trick that you pretty much have to do, okay? If you're going to speed run Super Metroid, this is the first part where you have to get one of the techniques, and there's really no way around it. This is called getting the early supers. So you're going to use a mock ball to get early supers. And what a mock ball does is it allows you to keep your speed for, like your run speed, in ball form, which allows you to get across these gates earlier than you're intended to in the game. Okay? So basically, you hug this little thing, you go left and right, you get down here, you shoot your 5 missiles, and here we are, okay? You got the door open. So the goal here is to jump through the door, but I'm going to show what I think is the easiest. I think this is the easiest way to learn how to do this move for a beginner. So one thing you got to understand, I've got a save state here, is when you jump through the door, you can't jump too early because you'll jump into the ceiling. And if you jump into the ceiling, what's going to happen is you won't rise high enough to get up here, okay? So you have to be careful that you jump and that your jump doesn't bonk the ceiling so you can actually get up here to begin with, okay? So that's step number 1. So if you happen to bonk like this, you're just going to have to reset and come back out. But the easiest way to pull this mock ball off, in my opinion, for a beginner is once you get into the door transition, you simply hold jump. And for me, jump is B, okay? But you hold jump the entire time, okay? You just never let it go. Once you get into the door transition, you just hold jump the entire time. And what you're going to do is, it's kind of like a Hadouken, okay? You're going to need to break out of your spin by pressing down, and then right before you land, you need to press down and then kind of roll it to the right like you're doing a Hadouken, and that will allow you to basically morph without, landing and hopping, and you'll continue your speed. So my suggestion is pressing down for the first time when you bonk your head against the ceiling, and then that gives you plenty of time to get ready to do that Hadouken. So let me see if I can set this up correctly, okay? All right, so here you go. Like, do it one step at a time, practice one step at a time. Notice that I'm just holding jump and I'm bonking that ceiling, right? Bonking the ceiling. I'm just holding jump. I'm never gonna let jump go. So now, when you get to the ceiling, press down. Boom. You see how you got a little bit of time before you land where you're pressing, where your cannon, your arm cannon is facing down, okay? So boom, that's step 2. And then step 3 is to press down again and then roll it to the right to get that Hadouken to get your mock ball. And then you just hold right, okay? I think that's the easiest way, and it gives you enough time to get adjusted. Like, you can, let go of jump and then press jump again and then, try to land really fast like that. Like, that's something that I would do probably more now. There are strats where you still bonk, and we could talk about that later, but I think for a beginner, this is the easiest way to learn how to mock ball, okay? It has the least amount of inputs, and it gives you the most amount of time between pressing down for the first time and then having to roll down to the right, okay? So, and just remember that especially when you first start running the game, I'm going to stress this huge all the time, you don't have to run the fastest strats possible in the game to get a decent time. So I could literally do everything else I've learned throughout the whole game and do that exact strat every time with this first mock ball, and it would only cost me like half a second or something, okay? So basically, ceiling, press down, and then as soon as you land, as soon as you're about to land, you press down to the right, you get that mock ball, and then you get through to this part. And at this point, you can just press up twice when you get to this part and shoot. And what I do is I just do basically 2 wall jumps. Okay, it's not too bad. You just do 2 wall jumps. Even if you want to, you could just do 1. If you're really nervous or something, or really a beginner, you could just do 1, and then you could just straight jump up here. But notice that what's going to happen is that sometimes you're going to if you're not fast enough, you're going to jump and get knocked down by these guys, okay? So here's a quick backup, and this is true for just about everybody, regardless of skill level. If you're going to get hit, you can actually jump and morph into a ball, and even if you get hit by one of the waivers, you won't get knocked down. Like, let's say I just messed up, whoops. It's actually kind of funny for me to actually try to mess up now, but let's say I mess up somehow. Okay, I can turn into a ball, and notice that I didn't get knocked down immediately, okay? So you kind of get the idea. Whoops. Okay, there you go. That was what I was talking about. So then you just run over here. You can kill that waiver if you want to. You jump on top of this thing. The good players are going to do, they're going to, basically do these quick falls where they kind of turn in midair on these crumble blocks, like so. I messed up the second one, but you get the idea. But if you're a newer runner, you really don't necessarily have to worry about that. Just try to get up here. You can use your iframes to run through these guys. Just get the super missile. You can just straight fall, not a big deal, and then you're out the door. So Moss, those are the kind of easy ways to do those rooms. I'll turn it over to you at this point and let you explain some things about how you do it.
Okay, great. Well, there's the first room. There's not a lot more to say than what you said. I like to jump off instead of running off. You start dropping a little bit earlier, so it's kind of it's a little bit more optimal. One thing to know about spin jumping, though, is that when you're in spin jump, it's very hard to stop your Samus from traveling left to right horizontally. So if I'm heading to the left while I'm spin jumping and I push right, you can, with a very, very small tap, stop Samus from moving any direction. But often when you're falling, there's a lot of sort of left to right movement with your spin jump. So in this situation, after I jump off, I always break out of spin using my angle button. So I jump off, break out of spin. And that's essentially it. I try to go right between the two guys at the beginning. If you run off the edge right at the beginning, it's they're in the position where you can go right between them without a problem. The Ripper, all you got to really do to avoid him is keep going to the right a little bit more. You can kind of use these in the background, this row of blue balls as like reference of where you want to kind of go to land. That's pretty much it with this room. I always unmorph right at the corner. This is really little, but I unmorph right here at this corner of this platform. Not often, but sometimes you can get an edge boost off of that. I'm not trying for it, but it just happens to happen sometimes, and it's a little bit faster. It's really small. It doesn't really matter. The only other thing to say about this room, when you get down to the bottom here, man, I'm hitting those things a lot. I'm so used to doing ice now, and I shoot these guys, so I'm kind of unpracticed at this. When you get down here, try not to. I advise against mashing your fire button to hit to shoot the missiles out. Usually it ends up coming out slower. So if you just start mashing really, crazily, you're probably not going to shoot it as fast as if you just take your time with your shots. And it's better practice to get used to the speed of actually firing your missiles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I try to get, just a little bit cleaner with that. I like the feeling of just pressing it 5 times, getting used to the timing of it. It's going to help you later on in life. That's about it for this room. So the Kipp explained pretty much everything about the mock ball. The little things that it's good to start understanding, though, is if you mess it up, there's a couple of things, depending on how you land on the ground, you can kind of tell what you did wrong. So if you aim down and you push the second down button too late, you won't be in ball form. So if I push it too late, you see I just land on the ground like normal. So if you land standing up, it meant you pushed it too late. If you push it too early, you're going to see Samus bounce. Okay, so if you see a little bounce, that means that you pushed it too early. Okay, if you don't see a bounce, but you fall through, it probably means you didn't roll from down to right fast enough. You have a couple of frames to make the movement from down over to right. It doesn't have to be like lightning fast. You essentially have the same amount of time as it takes Samus to morph into a ball. You have about that much time in order to move from down to right. That's essentially it. So you have some feedback for if you did it wrong. You now might know exactly what it was you did wrong in that situation. Okay, so there is a couple of backups if you do mess it up. Some of them are easier than others. The first one, like if you accidentally don't jump through the room and you end up here, you can always go back out and reload it. It does take time. So there's a couple of ways that people do this. The first one is just do like a really small mock ball right there and go under. That's pretty hard to do. The other option is to try to do a mock ball out here and land right on this post. That's actually a little bit easier. There's a nice visual cue that I found. If you use this pipe as a reference, the very edge of this pipe, when this pipe passes off screen, so if you run along the bridge, when the pipe passes off screen, you can do a full jump and you'll land perfectly, full jump, and you'll land right on that post. So you don't have to worry about doing a short hop in that situation of releasing jump and pushing it down again. It is tighter than the initial mock ball. But if you mess up the initial mock ball, you usually end up somewhere around here. You can then use, you have to get a little bit of running speed. You mess up, you end up around here. You can then use that as your backup. So again, looking for that pipe to pass off the screen, full jump. Oh, I pushed it a little bit too late and bounced. So again, using your feedback, if you know that you bounced, you probably pushed a little too early, right? So these are things to start watching out for. Anyway, it's just a little backup, and it gets you through. So when I am in ball form here, you'll notice at the top, I'm already holding, for an easy strat, I'm already holding L and R coming through here. This is really important for the way I like to do the easier strat. When you unmorph, you can't aim up and be crouched at the same time. Like if you push up to aim, you will stand up. So you can actually aim up, straight up while you're crouched if you hold both L and R. So while I'm rolling through here, I'm just holding L and R. And then when I get right here, I just push the jump button, or the up button really works. And then you can shoot straight away. So instead of having to kind of press up twice, shoot, and then kind of go into another motion, I found that a little bit easier. You may too. So that's probably the easiest way. I actually, I just hold angle up, and I unmorph right here. And that way I can get the shot off a little bit earlier and get a little bit of run speed to get up here and do some wall jumps. Damage boost is, it's the hard thing about the damage boost is that these guys are moving pretty much the whole time. The fastest deboost, you have to be really fast through the room. There's two waivers that kind of move together. Let's go over there and you can kind of see them. So you can damage boost off the first one, but there's also a backup to damage boost off the back one. So I don't know if you saw there, but I damage boost off this second guy here. If you go slow, if you're going a little bit slower, so you're not really moving that fast, there is a pretty good chance you might be able to still get a deboost off of this second one as not the fastest strat. So I just wall jump up here, I turn around, and I just jump straight. One of the nice things about jumping straight from here is that you actually get to see the waiver a little bit more. If you're doing the fastest strat, you're kind of doing a deboost blind. Like you don't see the waiver at all. And it's very hard. It takes a long time to get good at that. So with this backup strat, or the hitting the second waiver, if you stand here and do a full jump, you can just see it for a second, and it gives you a little bit more time to know how to get that deboost. So that's the next part. Coming through here, if you take damage, you can pretty much run right through all of these guys. So taking damage right here at the beginning is pretty much preferable, because then you can just get through all these guys. I think these guys die with 2 shots. So sometimes you can, shoot through them, but generally you're just arm pumping and running through. At this point, this is a spot where you can break up what you're doing. If you want to go for the reserve tank, after you get your supers, you come back this way. We were already talking about it. I mean, I really like this item. I think if you're pretty new at this game, get this item. Probably more than Spazer, I think. I generally advise not even grabbing Spazer. We'll talk about that a little bit later. What do you think, Kipp, about this reserve tank?
Well, here's the thing. I have never used it ever. But that's because at the time I just never considered it. Yeah. Or maybe I did. I actually don't really remember. Like, it was so long ago. But I would highly recommend it for people who are newer, because it's not really in the grand scheme. Like, a lot of people want to be like, oh man, that's like 20 seconds or whatever it is. But see, like 20 seconds to a run that is, I don't know, running a 45 or something, that's a lot of time. But like 20 seconds to a run that's like an hour and 10 minutes is not nearly as significant. So if it's possible for some runners that could save time in the grand scheme of things and make them be able to complete more runs. So I would highly recommend getting it if you were new.
There's also extra missiles here and more missiles. If you really want more missiles, it's probably not necessary in this category. There's a whole bunch more here. So you can really stock up in this room. If you're like, having trouble, this is a good place to go. I call this reserve tank, I call it tied to go. Let's see if you guys can figure out why I call it tied to go. I'll come back to that. So let's, Sean Cass says, let's show the D-boost to get the reserve. It's actually pretty easy. There's a really nice D-boost you can do. If you come up here, if you just sort of arm pump and jump at the super, so you notice I kind of jumped into the side of it. You notice that waver is sort of in a perfect position that it's already touching me. So at this point, while the fanfare is going, you can hold jump and right, just hold them, and you'll get a perfect D-boost. And it'll boost you back, and then you can run back through all of those guys. It's a really cool way of getting that tank. It doesn't take too much time to get it. It's kind of like a free damage boost as long as you set it up well. And if you don't set it up well, you just turn around and run back to the right. That's basically it. It does take it's a little bit harder. You have to come through here if you get the reserve tank. You have to come back through and go down this way probably, unless you do a really hard knockball. Okay, so yeah, that's essentially it. At the very end, I really like this last waver. I always farm this last waver. This guy right here. You'll either get a health drop or you'll get 2 missiles. And this and one other location getting up to Kraid are 2 places that I always get a drop. And you can get it without really slowing yourself down. The way I do it, the easiest way is to just shoot as soon as you jump on the platform, straight, and then shoot again, and then run and get it. You have to slow down a little bit because you can run right past it if you move too quickly. So you see I ran right past it. You can turn around and get it. But if you stop for just an instant, you can pick it up. The way I like to do it now is I shoot one straight shot, and then I do an angle shot at the end. And so he's a little bit closer. So I do a straight shot, then an angle shot. And you notice it's just in a better position than at this point. If you're good at this game, a lot of people will jump on top of these supers and aim down. And this allows for a free quick drop. In this situation, all you have to do if you're above the super aiming down is hold right, and you will quick drop through. This is a little thing, but it's kind of a cool thing. When your turnaround animation, when you're aiming down, the turnaround animation is longer. So it means that your window to do a quick drop is actually longer. So pretty much anytime you're doing a quick drop, people are aiming down. That's just a general rule of thumb with quick drops. That's essentially it with this room. Let's move on. Kipp, why don't you take over?
All right, so let me get back to my video real quick. Okay, so let me get through this room real quick. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the next 2 or 3 rooms and just talk about a couple things. And remember, at first, I want to show you kind of like some concepts that if you're just totally brand new and all you're trying to do is complete runs, right? You're just trying to complete some runs. It can be really overwhelming, even remembering where to go, learning the route. You got all these boss fights. I think a lot of times the better players forget what it's like being new. And so there are some things you can do that are not nearly as fast as the most pro strats, but you can still go faster or just be aware of certain things while you're learning the whole game. So real quick, you're going to exit out of here, and you're going to want to select supers, and you can basically just run straight off this thing and bonk against right here. And if you fall, you won't make it to the end, which is not what you want. So you want to push yourself to the left a little bit so that you can get through. So you'll select your super missiles, and then as soon as you land, you will go. Now, here's probably the single most basic thing you can do in this room. It's almost like you don't even have to learn a strat, okay? You can literally just get hit by the first guy, which does, 10 damage, which you can, be okay to survive. And you can just straight run, do nothing but run. This guy will not hit you. And when you get here, you can basically just, drop your bombs. Don't even worry about that guy. And you can literally just run straight to the end of the room, past these guys, shoot the door, and through. Okay, that's 14 14 seconds or so. Like, let me try to do this in a way that's actually like semi-fast. We're trying to avoid the bombs, and then I'm just going to straight run to this thing. I'm not even going to arm pump, and we're through in 13 seconds, okay? So here's sort of the more medium strat you can do, okay? This is another good place to practice your mock balls. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try to jump, and I would recommend, especially if you're newer, do a full jump, okay? Do a full jump when Samus basically gets at the bottom of this slope, okay? So you're basically going to do a full jump, and you're going to head bonk again, and you can do the same move I talked about earlier. You can press down when you bonk your head, and then do the mock ball. Boom, okay? And then that'll get you straight through. Now, if that's the only thing you do, right there, if that's all you do, then that saves. And again, I'm not going to arm pump on purpose, okay? That saves like a second and a half or whatever it is, okay? So it's pretty nice. There is a way to do like a mock ball, I think, through that guy right there. It's called the golden mock ball. I'll let Moss talk about that. I don't even usually run that because a lot of times I'm trying to be a little bit careful about managing my health at the beginning. But yeah, if you could just do this mock ball, then you can just go straight through here. You can just ignore the little cabbage guy or whatever. You can just straight run, and you can just basically like, you can even bonk against the door. It's not as fast, obviously, but you'll get through the room. If you're gonna run a newer strat, or excuse me, like a newer player kind of strat, I would recommend stuttering when you get to the door. You'll still get by these guys. You definitely don't want to get hit by them. But if you just stutter for a minute, you can get through the door transition without getting hit. Okay. A sort of medium thing that you could consider doing is once you get this mock ball, you can drop a bomb on that ledge right there. And if you drop a bomb on that ledge and then drop a bomb here and then backtrack, the bomb will go off just as this guy is coming down to hit it, okay? But you want to be careful. You want to put it like up on top of the ledge. You don't want to have it be too low. But basically, if you do it that way, you can kind of go back and forth and drop extra bombs. And then you can kill him. And when you lay your last bomb, you can grab the drop, go through here, and whatever. Now, what I do, this is actually not the optimal thing at all. But I still do it because it's just so much more consistent, and the time difference is actually pretty low. When I get to this part, I actually do a little tiny hop right here and shoot when I hop. And that allows me to get the door open and run through it. One thing you can do, I'm kind of bad at it, is you can learn to like jump and shoot and then like let go of jump and get it again. And you can actually get a mock ball. This is actually a maneuver that I'm really not super great at.
It's very, very hard, actually.
Yeah.
It's very easy to lose your momentum. It just has to do with the way you hit your inputs. Like, if you shoot at the wrong time when you're not holding jump or something, like, it's just really easy to fall out of it, yeah.
True, and I'll let Moss explain more about that. And I would like to, again, reiterate that move is not mandatory to get fast times at all, okay? So, but anyway, when I get here, I usually will hop, and I'm going to go ahead and show this room as well, and then I'm going to let Moss do the 3 rooms in a row. So basically, what you can do here is, especially if you're super new, you can just straight run off and try to hug. Like, you can try to hug this thing. Now, you won't make it down here all the way, but basically, if you just kind of hug right there, you're trying to get down in the least number of platforms as possible or whatever, okay? So basically, you can just kind of hug there and keep going to the left. You'll land here, and then the next time, you can just fall. Okay, but you're trying to land here. So we're going to hug, we're going to land, we're going to hug again, and then we're going to press left, and then that's it. We grab these. You can just straight run over here, turn into a ball. Okay, you can get down here and land and just get the charge beam. And then basically, you can, like, jump up here and, like, just... You can, like, hold L if you want to. You can just straight, like, hold L and just do vertical jumps and turn into a ball. And then here, you could lay a bomb and get through here. But I would at least, even if you're new, get accustomed to jumping and pressing down twice to get through this little hole right here. At this point, you just shoot your super missile to open this green door, and then you'll just straight run through. So here's kind of what it looks like if you're like really brand new. Okay, you're gonna hit that platform. You can jump down here. I'm actually not gonna talk to y'all about down backing. I'm gonna let Moss walk you through that because that's.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a harder strat. And you grab charge beam, and you can also, instead of just holding L, like if you're starting to get more comfortable, you can just do some wall jumps right here. You usually can do 3, and you'll land up here. So you can do 3, you'll land up here. You just turn into a ball. You can jump up here, and then you're through. And I'm going to save state this because this is the next segment that's kind of important to talk about. So there's some newer strats, and some medium ones. But that room has some cool tech in it when you start doing more advanced things. So, Moss, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about not only the room where you get charged, but kind of leading up to it.
Great. Okay. I just got to let me get back into this room. Okay. All right. Three rooms. The first one, there's really not a lot to say. I spin jump off. In general, it's faster to spin jump off of a ledge rather than just running off of it. So you're going to see people when they're trying to bring their times down, they're going to spin jump off every platform. It's kind of a nice rule of thumb. If you have trouble, like as soon as I jump off, I hit the angle button so that, again, if you don't break out a spin, it's really easy to get like into a very like left to right motion. So you can just jump off and break out a spin. The easiest way to do it, if you just jump off and jump into this, there's like into this wall here. If you just jump into that when you're falling, that guy shouldn't be there. When you're falling, you just fall straight and then just move a little left. Once I pass this platform, I just move a little left and then you fall all the way down. That's about it. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to get through this mock ball thing. Kipp already mentioned just the big mock ball like this. That's great. If you want to be a little bit faster, there is a shorter mock ball that you can do. You can do it without shooting the guy. I always shoot him. When you shoot that first flying bat guy, it slows him down for a second, and so it makes it a little easier to miss him. So I use this as a reference. I shoot sort of right around these plants. So I shoot and jump immediately. I just release the jump a little bit earlier. Very small, though. There is another way that you can come through this room. I don't use it. I find it really hard to get consistent, but it's something like if you jump through this door, that's probably too early. If you jump at the right time, if you mock ball into that first guy, see, I can't do it, but if you mock ball into that first guy, you can actually do a thing called a kego, which means you kind of morph right through him. You take damage, but you don't lose your momentum. It's the main reason that you would do it. So I can't really do it, but the main reason you do it is because it makes the door transition in this room a little bit better. When you come down this way, this door is a little bit high up. So if you run straight through, it takes a second for the door to come down to the center of the screen before it moves over. And so a lot of people will just, if you jump, it brings the door down a little bit. The door wasn't set up properly at this situation, but that's the main reason that people would do that. It's really small. I don't really recommend it though. I don't do it because I never get it right. Okay, so Richmond says it exactly right. General rule of thumb: the more time you spend on the ground, the better. That's true. You want to be on the ground as much as possible. Also, mock balls are a little bit faster on the ground than running. So if you can mock ball, if you can land the mock ball and hit the ground earlier, then you're mock balling for longer. So it is a little bit faster. Okay, so this bombing wall thing, this is the other place where I grab drops. The first one was right at the supers. I also grab drops from this guy. It's really nice in this situation. This guy can drop missiles. He can drop health. He can also drop supers. So you can get any one of those. It's really nice to get an extra pack of missiles here. It can help out a lot in the future. So when you lay a bomb the first time, you come back to these bulbs. The first time you come back, it's just to bring him back on screen so that he starts moving down towards you. So you come over here once, twice, and both times I lay a bomb. The third bomb I lay somewhere around this area. So I'll do it for you guys. You can see it. Okay, so the first one, you lay a bomb, come back here, a bomb, come back here, a bomb, and then put another one right there. This guy's movement is a little bit random. Sometimes the second one doesn't hit him. So back here, bomb, bomb. So sometimes that second one doesn't hit him. So as a backup, the third one that I put to hit him, I put another one right here. And generally, after that much time, he finds his way down into this area, and he can't really move much because he has to, travel up and down in order to move horizontally. He's kind of trapped. So in this location, usually you're going to hit him. When I drop the second bomb that hits him right here, I usually delay it a little bit. I find that if I delay this one here, it's more likely to hit him. And then as a backup, I have another one there. And if you don't hit him, if you don't kill him, that's fine. Just leave him. He's going to die eventually when the planet explodes. So let him live for 45 more minutes is the way I think of it. Okay, so it's nice to get the drop, though. Okay, so this last section, you don't want to get hit by these guys. These guys are really bad news to get hit by. They do, I think, 50 damage. Yeah, they do 50 damage. That's the most damage that any enemy in Brinstar will deal to you, at least in this route. The large side hoppers in Hundro will do 60, I think. These guys do 50 damage. If you're at 120 damage health at this point, it's a lot of damage. So you want to avoid that. So try not to jump too early if you're going to mock ball, because you can definitely hit those guys. Kipp already said the easiest ways. If you're going to stop, you can use this mountain, this little whatever it is in the foreground, this little post as like the place to stop. If you want to start doing mock balls, there's a couple of ways that you can do it in this room. You can, while running, you can do an angle shot right at this crack here, and it'll hit the door. And once you do that, you can actually do a full jump. If you do a full jump, you will jump into the ceiling here, and the ceiling actually carries you down and through into the next room. So you can just do one shot and a big full jump, and it carries you through the room into the next room. Now, if before you get through the door, you press down, so you're still holding jump, and you press down, you can now, in this room, do a mock ball. It's a pretty easy way of doing a mock ball strat for this, as opposed to doing the really harder mock ball. If you don't want to do the mock ball here, though, you can also just come into the next room and do the mock ball, like do one right here. That's also fine. The hardest way of doing it, which is really cool, is a really short mock ball. You do a little jump, and you have to shoot the door in the middle of your jump, and then do the mock ball. The trickiest thing about this is that it's really easy to break your momentum when you're shooting, when you start shooting. Essentially, the way that spin jump works is that when you break out of spin, if you're not holding jump or forward, you will lose momentum when you release the button that breaks you out of spin. That's kind of very involved, but essentially, this is a very hard strat to do. The only thing I can really say is I've just got the muscle memory of what it feels like to do it. I just do 1, 2, 3, jump, shoot, jump. I kind of press them in that order. It's hard, you can look at the top and sort of see the order of that. I think though, I'm not certain that I'm pressing the shoot button while I'm still holding jump the first time. And then you just try to do a little mock ball at the end. It's pretty hard though. There is one final, even it's really stupid, but there is another way you can do the shot from this. You can jump and do a shot here and do a mock ball here. It'll be the fastest of all. It's very hard. The advantage to this one is you don't have to release jump. You can just hold jump the whole way through that. It's faster because you're mock balling earlier, but not necessary. So I think that's pretty much everything through that section. The reason you want to mock ball through this area is it's easy. If you're in ball, it's easier to get through this section. You can get through that section with only hitting one platform. But if you prefer, you can just run over here and turn into a ball. That's the other option. So you don't need, the mock ball is completely preference, but it's pretty cool. All right, so coming down here, probably if you're coming down in ball form, which is the way I'll talk about it, the easiest way is just land here, unmorph. I try to soft unmorph, meaning I unmorph as I hit the ground. And you'll notice that you don't bounce, and you also don't slow your momentum. So I unmorph right here, and then I just jump off. That guy will not be there. That was, I waited there too long. So coming down like this, just land here, unmorph and jump off, and weave your way down to land on this platform. The ultimate strat here is using a down back. Down backs are pretty tricky. Essentially what's happening is you're closing up your hitbox, you're making your hitbox smaller, and you're moving to the side, and it allows you to cut right through this whole section without ever hitting the ground if you do it properly. The only thing I'm going to say about the down back is that you really want to think of it like the word down back. You don't want to do down and back at the same time. You want to do down and then press back. When you're unmorphing, I'm going to unmorph while holding the down button. And so you're going to see that Samus will unmorph and then start aiming down. Unmorphed aims down. You see it takes a little bit of time for Samus to get into the aiming down position. If you push back before Samus is in the aim down animation, Samus will just turn around and the down back won't work. So you have to make sure before you press back, you see this position. So essentially, again, down, then back. So when you get through this section here, unmorph, down, then back. That's kind of the most important thing about doing it. When you're coming down here, I actually turn around right here before I unmorph, right there. So it allows for me to be facing to the right. If you're facing to the left, you have to kind of turn around and then do a down back, which I find harder. Anyways, so you do a down back and work your way through. This is a good spot to talk about aiming down when you jump. Let's get rid of those guys. So there's a lot of situations in which aiming down while you jump is really helpful. So jumping and then holding the down button so that you're in this position. Your hitbox is smaller when you're aiming down as opposed to when you're spinning. So when you make this jump here over this pipe, there are two ledges that you might hit depending on how you positioned your jump. You might hit this one or you might hit this one. Both are possible to hit. If you jump too early, you might hit this guy or that one. You see how I just barely cleared the first one and then I hit this one. If you think you might hit these ledges, if you hold the down button, you're bringing your feet up a little bit. And so it means that you might just clear it. It won't happen to work every time, and it's kind of very situational, but it's good to get used to the idea that if you think you're going to hit the platform, just start pressing the down button and you will probably clear it. This is going to be handy in a number of places coming up. All right, so you get your missiles, come over here, lay a bomb, and head over this way. There's a lot of ways to pick up this charge beam, but they're all basically the same. 3 wall jumps to get up. There is a stupid thing called up and 2. If you do the jump at the last frame, you can avoid hitting this, and you can get up to not here, but up to here, and it only takes 2 wall jumps. It's kind of a joke. Like, this is sort of a gag that people, not a gag, but it's a joke that runners talk about a lot because it really adds nothing. But people talk about up and 2. If you hear someone mention up and 2, that's what they're talking about. Okay, so coming up here, I used to jump up and then do a little morph and get into this hole. I've recently started just unmorphing here, doing a full jump, turning into ball, and just so basically you morph as you go up, and then just hold right. You'll always get into this little position, this little crevice here. And I actually find it most of the time I find it faster for me than trying to do this. I know Overfiend uses this strat most of the time when he does runs. A lot of people don't, but I find this faster. While you're in this hole, it's a good time to switch to supers. Just you have a free time to do it. And then you just hit the door and run through. I think that's basically it. Before I give it back to Kipp, I had mentioned before that reserve tank. I said I called it Tied to Go, and I was wondering if anyone was able to figure out why I said that. So Tied to Go, like the Tide pen. So if you get ketchup on you, you can just use the Tide pen, and then you're ready to go again. It's one of the nice things about the reserve tank. If you do get hit by the ketchup and you still beat Mother Brain, you can bring your health back up to 300 and still 301 and still finish the game. So Tied to Go. All right, Kipp, you ready to take over?
Yes, I was eagerly awaiting what Tied to Go meant. So that was not what I was expecting, but I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, we're going to talk about, I'm going to run through basically, I think it's 2 rooms. We're going to try to segment this. I'm going to run through 2 rooms that get us to Red Tower. Then after that, I'm going to let Moss have it for a minute, and then I'm going to try to show, I think maybe 2 or 3 more rooms leading into Kraid's lair, and then we'll end with Kraid. But basically, this is the Green Hills, I guess what people call Green Hills. Some people, I guess, are referring to, Sonic, but I always imagine the Green Hills of Stranglethorn from WoW.
I was totally going to say that. Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have anything to do with it. But, okay, so what I'm about to show y'all, I find this really fascinating. I've been, toying with the idea and doing some things both online and offline to put together an eventual sub-hour tutorial that's only aimed at people whose only aim is to get a sub-hour time, and they're not interested in necessarily like grinding every single thing in the game or whatever. And so a lot of times I'm thinking about like, how can somebody learn to go within the range as fast as possible? And this is one of those rooms that I find really intriguing because the time that it takes to do like a good, really complex strat. I mean, I remember having to work on this room a lot when I first started. The time differential between that and something that's very easy is, for a speedrunner, pretty big. It's like maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds or something. But in the grand scheme of people learning to try to run a sub-hour time, it's nothing, okay? So what you're essentially going to see a lot of people try to do when they enter the room is jump and then do another mock ball and then hold this mock ball all the way through. They'll try to charge and shoot this guy. A lot of times people will come through here and this is basically one of the fastest ways you can get through the room. I'm sure Moss could do it faster than that, but let's just keep that in mind for reference, okay? 10 seconds, 15 frames for probably the thing that took the most tech, okay?
Looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, not too bad. And so now let's look at, I'm going to talk about something like, let's imagine that you miss the jump or you don't feel comfortable with the mock ball. I'm not even going to attempt anything strange. I'm just going to straight run through the room with one caveat. I'm going to press down every time that I come to a ledge. What pressing down will do is compress your hitbox, and sometimes you can get through certain places without losing your momentum as opposed to bonking. The only caveat here is this one thing right here, okay? It's easier to hold R and then shoot this little bug as he comes out and then press down. If you can do that, and you don't, if all I do is just hold dash and press to the right and just keep pressing down, typically I'm going to get hit one time. I can get through here, shoot this one guy. That hopper following me is actually very unfortunate. I basically just did nothing overly complex and was still able to get 12 and a half. And so I get that 2.5 seconds is a lot, when you're trying to lower your time as much as possible. But for a new runner, that's not that much. So just be aware that if you miss this mock ball, you can basically just keep running and holding down, and you can keep clearing. See, I want to do a little example. Moss actually taught this to me a long time ago. If you just run off this ledge, you're going to bonk this guy right here. Boom. And it's going to make you slower. Boom, right? You lose your momentum. But if you press down, your hitbox is compressed, and you'll clear it, and you can just kind of keep running. And so all I'm doing here is just straight holding right and pressing down And usually, if you do it right, you can even use your iframes and get through. Crap, I'm messing it up right now. I was doing it right earlier when you guys, when I was practicing when y'all weren't looking. But like usually you can use your iframes and just get right by that guy. You can come down here, shoot this guy with a missile, and then run through. It's not that much slower, okay? But what you're trying to do essentially is get a mock ball here. I think the easiest way for a beginner to learn how to do this is use this as a reference point. This is when you can just kind of come out of spin, okay? And boom. Just press down once. You're just holding jump the whole time, okay? Just hold jump, press down again, and do your mock ball, and then you just hold everything until you get past this first guy. What I would suggest from here is charging a shot, which actually I think I'll probably just let Moss talk about that. Like, let's just imagine you just press down here and get hit, whatever. You come down here, you try to shoot this door. This guy can be killed with either one missile or 3 regular shots. But the key here, and I can't emphasize this enough, is there's going to be a cack attack in the next room, actually 2 of them, and you want to farm both of them regardless of what future Kraid strat you want to use. We'll talk about it in a minute, okay? They're going to drop supers like 99.4% of the time or 99.6 or something. It's crazy. So they're basically 2 free supers. So when you get to this part, you want to shoot and just hold dash. That should clear to the door, and you just hold charge, and then when you get in this room, you just let go of like movement, and as soon as you land, you just let go of the charge, okay? So I'm going to pick it up from there and talk about getting the 2 supers. Okay? So, I'm holding charge, and I'm entering this room, okay? So if I just let it go in the door, if I'm not spinning, it's just going to shoot. And if I hold it but then run forward, if I'm running forward and let it go, it's going to go over the cack. You want to not move, release, give it a second to drop, and then pick it up as you jump, okay? Boom. It's really important that you get that super. You definitely want that super, okay? So boom, and then when you get up here, here's what I do, okay? And I'm going to show it to you without arm pumping because I don't think arm pumping is important for newer players. You're basically just going to hold dash and start running. But notice in this game, you don't have to hold dash the whole time. Like once you get to maximum speed, you can let go of dash, right? Like I'm not holding dash anymore and I'm still running, okay? What I would do is hold the L button, and once you get to, for example, where it starts to crumble, I would just shoot, hold L, and try to release your shot when you're getting right around this little pink flower right here. But you got to hold right the whole time, and if you do it correctly, you'll fall, and you'll actually shoot the this guy, and he'll drop the super while you get prepared to shoot that door, okay? So even for like a newer player, you can just hold L, hold the charge, release, select supers. Well, you don't want to Kojak right there. But especially if you're new, like if you don't have great mechanical ability, you can just jump up here, shoot, and then walk through, okay? What I would suggest doing is try to get comfortable selecting supers after you release charge, or after you release the charge shot, and just shooting it in midair. And then you can basically just jump up here. The fastest thing to do here is to mock ball through here so you're already in ball form. I'll let Moss talk about that, but you can just walk through and then turn into a ball and bomb. So I will turn it to Moss to get to Red Tower, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Red Tower when we get here.
Great.
There you go.
Just gonna post this really quick. This, I think that last room you were in, Kipp, I'm pretty sure that's the first time that we see cack attacks. For new runners, cack attacks are really important. They are basically the place where you get supers. Anytime you see a cack attack, you're probably going to want to farm them because their drop rate for supers is almost 100%. It's like 99.4% chance of dropping supers. So you're going to need supers a lot in this game. Anytime you see a cack, they will almost always drop supers. And in fact, most of the rooms that the strats you're going through for health management or ammo management, is dependent on the fact that these cacks are going to give you supers. And they do almost every time. There will be, I think it's 0.5% chance, maybe 0.6% chance that they'll drop a health. But they will give you supers as long as you don't have full supers or you don't have less than 30 health. So they'll always give supers. It's really important to note that. Okay. So this jump, the mock ball is actually, it's not a very hard mock ball to get because you can just hold jump the whole way through. So it's just a full jump mock ball. Kipp mentioned that you can probably start pressing down the first time right as you pass this. And Kipp already did a pretty good job of explaining the thing of like jumping and aiming down like this, that you can clear a lot of these platforms. I kind of mentioned that in Big Pink. But if you jump too early and you're going to hit this, it is possible that if you press aim down, you are going to clear that again. So I always push aim down like just before I get past this thing. The only time you're not going to make it through here is if you do a firstie. That is a Mario 64 reference. That means if you push jump on the very first frame, I did it. If you push it on the very first frame that you gain control after the door closes, you probably won't make it through. It's very unlikely that's going to happen. Man, I did it again. Wow. Man, I'm getting frame perfect. So if anything but a firstie pretty much will get you down through here. If you happen to, if you push jump too late, you can always go into the backup strat that Kipp already mentioned. That's works really well. You can also, if you want, you can do like a little jump shot and farm this guy if you want to on the way down. So if you mess it up, you can, do something like this and grab a drop for free. All right. So the standard way of coming down is coming through with a mock ball here. What's going to happen with this is that you're going to bounce a couple of times and get underneath this guy. You'll end where you lose your momentum is right underneath him. That's sort of where you stop getting the forward momentum from the mock ball. It has to do with you only bounce. Your second bounce is where you lose momentum with the mock ball. So at this spot, generally what people will do is they'll just unmorph. They'll hold a charge and they'll run down and hit this guy with a charge shot. So if you're going to do a charge shot here, aim down like Kipp was saying, and you'll not bonk onto this. So as soon as I'm past that little ledge, I just start pushing forward and I try to hit that hopper right in the face. So he'll be pretty close to you and you can just hit him in the face. He might jump high or low, depending on where he is. You might have to, and that lands you right around here. Okay, so from this spot, the easiest thing to do, aside from what Kipp has already said, is if you just run off and land sort of around here. Use this plant as a reference. If you can kind of you can usually do like a spin jump over this and not hit this platform. You can kind of do something like that. And if you do, you have a chance on the way up to hit the door and on the way down. So it kind of doesn't lose too much time doing something like that. The faster way, there is a deboost that you can kind of do. It's pretty hard because it's dependent on you hitting the door on this side of this platform. Now you notice that there's a very small window where if you shoot, it kind of goes through the top of the platform. Pretty hard to hit. And that is the window that you have to get in order to make this shot and make this damage boost work really well. Pretty hard to hit. So you jump off, make the shot, and then this guy will be coming out. You turn around and try to damage boost off him. It's pretty advanced. I don't really recommend this for, a very long time. And if you're at the point that you're doing this strat, you probably don't need to listen to me at that point. So let's not, I don't even think we should really talk too much about it. Once you hit this door, I often check how many missiles I have before I come into this room, just so I know. You want to have 5 missiles by the time you get to Kraid. So I don't want to use any missiles in the next bunch of rooms unless I have more than 5. So if you get a drop from the early supers room, or you get a drop from the guy that you bomb on the way in through the pink room, the Dakar room. If you get a missile from either of them, you'll have 7 missiles at this point, or maybe 9. You can kind of duck down and hit this guy with a missile. The other way is when you shoot this, just hold a charge, run through and hit him. That's generally what I do. I don't usually use a missile. It's a little faster to do a missile because you can kind of shoot under the gate, sort of. You can do kind of a little shot like that. That's pretty much it for this room. When you kill this guy, after you kill him, I shoot again and hold charge. I jump through this door, aiming down. The reason I do this is that if you're in spin jump, you're not actually gaining a charge. So you notice that while if I'm spin jumping, I'm holding a charge. You're not actually accumulating charge while you're in spin jump. Get out of here. So you're not actually amounting the ability to gain a charge while you're spinning. So if you're jumping and you press down, I guess you can push the angle buttons too. It means you're now in a position where you're continuing to gain a charge. So while I'm running through that part, after I shoot the door open, I just hold charge and I jump through the door aiming down. That allows me to have a charge by the time I land on the ground. Kipp mentioned already, you have to stand still when you're shooting this guy. There's something about, it has to do with Samus's gun position. When Samus is running, her gun is a little higher up than when she's standing. It's kind of hard to see, but if I use, as an example, I shoot one missile while standing, and then I run right after, you'll notice the first missile's a little lower than the following missiles. Or maybe a P-shot will look better. It's kind of hard to see. But when you're standing still, your shot is a little bit lower. So you won't hit this guy if you're moving forward. So make sure you stand still. And then grab this on the way up. You can arm pump. I don't really recommend it. Kipp pretty much said this whole room pretty well. You want to shoot right here to kill this guy as you're running. While I'm falling, I switch to missiles, super missiles. So I press item select twice. And then before I hit the ground, I open the door. So you'll grab so the cool thing is you're wasting a missile to open the door, or using a missile to open the door, and then you're regaining the super missile as you come back, as you get the cack attack. So you should leave this room with 4 supers. Enter it with 3, leave with 4. Holding a charge, aim down, and shoot. Hold run when you go across this bridge. I should have said that first. And once, a little thing, but if you want to add a mock ball at the end, you can. It's going to make the next room a little bit faster. I always come through this room in ball form because you're going to lay a bomb right here. So it's a little thing at the end. After you farm the cat super, just do a little mock ball if you want. It's not a big deal, though. Kipp, you want to do the red tower?
Yes, but first, ladies and gentlemen, I have good news. It's bonus time. I've got a little bonus strat that I want to show you guys. So you are the lucky winners of a quick bonus. So here's what I'm gonna show you. Okay, let's imagine that you're in Green Hills and you get down to where this is where the first hopper would have been, but you would have already cleared him. Okay. So you've landed here. Assume this hopper has gone by you, and you're about to run down here to where the second hopper is, right? So you're holding your charge shot. You're trying to shoot him, and then, Moss was talking about this kind of hard strat where you're trying to get this D-boost, right? Whoops. I'm already doing the thing that I'm wanting to show you. So, most people are trying to get this D-boost like that. Here's something that I do in particular. All right, I'm going to stop the game show music now. One thing I do in low ice occasionally, depending on how many drops I have, how much health I have, or something like that, is What I'm about to show you is not faster. In fact, it's obviously slower, but it can get you an extra farm in certain categories. So you basically do everything the same, but instead of deboosting off of the bug, you jump over him and shoot him as he is flying under you. And if you do it all correctly, the gate is getting time to rise, and you can shoot him and grab the drop and then keep going. I don't know how many times it's going to take me to get this correct, but you'll kind of see the point that I'm trying to make. Like normally I would shoot even here. You can kind of do that as a backup and get through here pretty quickly, okay? But technically speaking, sometimes if you do this correctly, you'll get the shot and you can kill the bug. There we go, like that. And you can basically select missiles and shoot one. So you might pick up an extra super, you might pick up 2 missiles and then use one of them on the next guy. You might get some more health. It's just something small that you can do to get a little bit more on the drops there. So there you go. There was bonus strat time. Okay, so here...
Red Tower.
Yeah, Red Tower time. I'm going to assume, like, I'm trying to show, like, the easy strats to begin with, so I'm going to come in here, standing up. So all you really got to do is turn into a ball, okay? And you'll drop a bomb, and then you can just kind of fall through here. And when you get down here, you're trying to break these 2 blocks right here. I'll let Moss kind of show you the little bit more advanced stuff, but one thing you can do, if you're new, is basically just, like you can even just stand up if you want to and just kind of fall. And try to hug this, and when you fall down here, you can end up landing here, and then you can just jump. Well, I don't want to shoot that guy. You can just jump and press down and hit fire twice, and you'll fall through. You don't have to worry about anything crazy, okay? Boom. And then you can even just kind of walk off here if you want to. Like a very beginning player, there you go. It's not that hard, okay? But one thing you can do if you're trying to add a little bit of extra time, even if you did this really super easy thing here, is once you get down here, you can try jumping. Try spin jumping and hugging this wall right here. And what you can do is actually clear, if you do it correctly, you can actually clear that little ledge right there, and you won't get stopped so much, okay? So let me see if I can get it. I'm a little off. This isn't like, I don't actually practice this exact strat, so like my muscle memory, but see right there, I just made it through and didn't even get hit. And then at that point, you can kind of practice maybe shooting this door between the second and third waivers or rippers. But even if you don't get it, it's no problem. So let me talk you through now the next several rooms. I'm going to take this all the way to Kraid's room with the really kind of easier strats, and then I'll let Moss show the harder stuff. So the key with this one is you want to make sure that you jump through the door, okay? And this is true whether you're running a good or a fast or a slow strat. You want to jump through the door, and you want to hold jump the entire time so that you can just clear all the way to this platform, okay? That's going to be a whole lot faster than, running through here and then trying to stop and then turn around and do all this stuff. So if you're looking for a super easy strat, my suggestion would be when you get to the ceiling, just start shooting. Okay, I'm gonna safe state this one. Just start shooting when you get to the ceiling. And you'll kill the first guy. Sometimes you can kill both of them if you kind of do it fast enough. And if you just kind of land and wait for a second, then you can just jump across and grab whatever drops they drop. It's 3 seconds.
You can kind of shoot one on the way up and one on the way down, sort of. If you shoot just before the first one just before you hit the ceiling, it'll usually work.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. So, and like right there, I got 4 missiles, didn't get hit, kept all my health, and it wasn't really that slow. So that's something easy you can do. Or even easier than that, it's obviously slower, is you can just kind of like shoot one, land, and then jump and shoot again and then jump across. Probably slower by like a second. But again, if you're brand new, not a huge deal, okay?
You might have to watch out. If you're shooting both of them, you might have to stop for a second to not get hit by the particles when they explode.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's continue here. When you get into this room, okay, you got multiple options, and I'm going to talk about the easiest thing possible. So you get in this room, you have basically 2 options to kill that cack very quickly. You can either crouch right here and shoot 3 times and kill him, or you can crouch and shoot 1 missile and kill him. And at this point, you can just kind of jump across and try to land on that thing and then get through the room. Or a medium strat would be when you enter the room, let go of dash So don't hold dash here, because if you hold dash, you're going to run straight into that yapping maw. If you just press to the right without hitting dash, you'll land here, okay? And in between, if you select missiles and shoot on your way down, you'll hit the cack. At that point, you can just kind of roll right on through the room. It's not really too bad. Okay, those are decent strats for people who are, just getting started. And then when you... Yo, Dr. D, thank you, man.
Destructo bits, Kipp Fleur, Kipp Thrilla Gorilla.
Wow. Dr. Destructo's cheer apparently unlocked gifts for 3 other people. I have no idea what's going on, but thank you, Dr. D. I appreciate the donation. So real quick, when you get down to this area here, you go through this door, and what you need to know is you're holding dash, but I usually let go of dash in here and just hold shoot. And as soon as the door opens, then I hold dash again, and I keep holding shoot. And that way, when I get to this third room, I just let everything go, and I get through the whole room without bonking anything, okay? So that's kind of the key there, is trying to make sure that you don't hold dash, then hold it, then hold shoot, and then you just release shoot during this door transition, and you select supers, okay? Now, here's the really easy way to get through this room. I'm also show you something that's a lot cooler and faster, but basically what I would suggest for newer players is there are multiple ways to get through here even without the fast strat, but the easiest one to me was always to run all the way to the wall, crouch and shoot this through, turn into a ball, fall down, okay, and then just jump over here and do a wall jump. Some people prefer to get through here, hug this wall, jump over, and then do a wall jump there. But I find that to be a little bit more technical. Like, you have to kind of really feel the jump a little bit more. Whereas this one, as long as you just turn around and jump basically almost as soon as you can, you're pretty much going to get there. So, you basically just run into the room, fall down here, and then, that time I messed up, but you kind of get the idea. You're just trying to turn and then get up here, and at this point, you just jump through this door. Okay, that's the easiest way to just get through the room, and it's not too bad. Okay, I also would suggest at this point unselecting your supers while you're falling, because you can't do anything else anyway, and you don't want to have super missiles equipped when you're trying to shoot through this door. Okay, so Moss, I'm going to turn it over to you to get all the way through the entrance to Kraid's lair, and I think what we're probably going to need to do is we're coming up on the 2-hour mark very shortly.
Yeah.
Let's try to go through here quickly and not really put an emphasis on ammo, because I know we want to do an ammo strat chat at some point in the future. So let's just kind of, why don't you just run all the way through to Kraid, show people, generally speaking, how you set up the quick kill with the 2 missiles. I'll show the charge setup, and we'll just go from there. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit.
Okay, great. The only thing I'll really say about ammo management for this section is that really this game is designed well enough that, like, if you don't waste anything on the way through, you're going to have the ammo, exactly the ammo you need by the time you get to Kraid. You might have some extra, and that's where the play kind of comes in terms of what strats you use. So coming down here, if you just do a little jump, you're going to be falling a little bit faster than just standing and waiting for the platform to explode. So you can jump and just turn into a ball. That's probably the easiest of these strats. You can also do a quick drop, just like at the beginning of at early supers. Just when you grab the super, you can do that aim down and turn around thing. You can use that in this situation to get like a frame perfect drop through the block. So you can kind of stand here and use that to try to get through the block like perfectly. Because as the block explodes, you keep your momentum from your jump. It's not a big deal. I usually just do a one turnaround. I know about how high I have to jump, and I just turn around as I'm, as I'm hitting the ground. Can't do it properly right now though. So coming down here in a ball, the ultimate best way to do it is to do a down back again. And if you shoot twice, the first shot, you can just shoot as you're butting up against this wall here while you're down backing. It'll take out the first block right here. And then once you've moved over a little bit and kind of passed somewhere around, like I don't know, somewhere around here, the second shot will open up the blocks all the way down. See, it's pretty hard to get. Again, the same thing I said, when you're unmorphing and doing a down back, remember, down then back. And that'll get you down really, really fast. If it's fun to try it, at least. I usually unmorph somewhere around here, like right in the middle of this passage, somewhere around there, which should work just fine. And then you get down to this area where you can't really see yourself. Okay, so in this area, you can just walk off, land, and hit the ledge here. It's a little bit slow. The other option, you can jump off as well. It's a little hard to time, though, because, you can't see yourself exactly where you are. I mean, you get used to kind of the feeling of it, but it is a little harder. You can also do a down back. You can turn around and down back kind of around that platform. Generally, you want to end up on the left side of these rippers so that you have lots of run speed coming through this area, and shoot between, I don't know I can't remember which rippers it is. It's between the second and third rippers. If you miss that shot, you can kind of do a high shot, like on the way down, your second shot, you can kind of do one right around here, and it won't slow you down any. So the backup is to sort of shoot it here and then run through. You want to make sure you jump through this door. If you jump through this door, it not only sets up the next room really well, but it also helps with the door transition a little bit. Okay, so there are a couple of damage boost strategies to get through this room. Either you can just shoot the door and then damage boost off of the first scree. I find that one harder to do. Some people might find it easier. I used to do that, and after a while, I very consistent. So, see, I still can't really do it. You do take a little more damage from that. 10 damage, I think. It's not a big deal, but, depending on where your health is, it might be better to do the second strat. The second strat is actually shooting the first guy and shooting the door. So shoot the first guy and then shoot the door as you land. As they are killed, they explode and their particles fly into the air. You can actually damage boost off the particle. That usually gets you either in through the door or onto the platform right next to the door. I use, in the background, I use these, that horizontal line that I'm shooting at. That's sort of like the lowest you can shoot at. Maybe you have to be a little higher, actually, just above that as a reference for where to shoot. The lower you shoot, the easier it is to get this deboost. Usually, most of the time I find I end up right. If you end up right here, you can always jump up like this. I will generally down grab it, so I'll jump. We talked about down grabs in the last tutorial. I'll jump and do a little down grab like that. I'm also holding shot the whole way through this room because I'm starting to build up a charge shot. So I'm running through here with the charge. Forget Spazer. Don't get Spazer. We talked about that already. I think, really, I don't see any situation where I recommend getting Spazer, so don't. So this jump here, I jump and I aim down. Again, this breaks you out of spin so that it allows you to charge your charge shot so that you can hit this guy with a charge shot. So I break out of spin here, and then I hit him with a charge shot on the way down. Generally, I land on this platform. It's possible you might land on this one. If you fall, it's good to practice what to do if you fall in between the two, because you're in sort of water physics and you're pretty slow. You don't want to get grabbed by this guy. So I do a little down grab to get out of that. If I end up, in trouble there, I will do a little down grab. So if I end up sort of, I don't know, like this, then I'll do a little down grab. Shoot the door and jump through to the next area. You want to it's ideal to land right here at the platform for the next room. It's not a big deal though. So I usually end up right here. This is another spot that's good to practice a down grab, because if you jump a little bit too short, if you do a down grab here, you're going to avoid getting grabbed by the guy, and then you also get full run speed coming through this next room. If you get full run speed, your shot here will travel fast enough that this door will open and you can run through. If you're closer to the door, if you're like right here when you run through, you can't hold run. because you'll hit the door. The shot is not traveling fast enough because you're not up to speed when you run through the room. So you have to just release run for an instant. So I'm just not holding run, hold run, and you get through the door. It's pretty simple. I just hold charge shot at this point. So I hold charge shot going through this next room because then I don't have to press it again coming into this third room here. While I'm running through this room, I switch to supers. So that last little bit. Just I hold the charge shot through this room. Then I release those buttons and I just switch to supers here. Okay. Kipp mentioned this way. That's fine. You can also angle shot this when you're running through like that. I use this background reference in the background. I don't know if it picks up, but there's like a purple box in the background. Right as Samus hits that, that's what I use as a reference to shoot the angle down shot. You can also on the ground use the top pipe. That's sort of another spot. So you could use that as a reference and go like that, maybe a little faster. I don't know. The swag strat though is to shoot all three of these, jump through, and land on this platform. It's pretty swag. It is a little riskier because you're wasting 3 supers, but most likely you can afford it. If you come in with 4 supers, you can use 3 here in this room, and you should be fine for the next couple of rooms. The thing to note about this is if you want to start learning this strat, the easiest way to do this is to just do the first 2 shots while standing still. So just when you come into the room, don't hold forward. Just do a shot, a little jump shot, and then run. And then hitting this one is not as hard because you have less time. You don't have to worry so much about the timing on it. So it's a little bit slower, but doing this, I just stopped in place. That's all I did. Just stopped where I was, shot the first one, and then did a little hop jump and shot the second one. As you get better, you can continue to hold run the whole way through, or hold right the whole way through. You actually don't need to hold run at the beginning of this room because you're already going to be at max speed. And if you're at max speed, you don't have to continue to hold run. You can just hold right and you'll stay at your max speed. So coming into this room, I'm just holding right and I shoot right away. As I shoot, I then jump and do another shot. And it just frees up my hand a little bit. So remember, you don't have to hold run in this section. So it means that you don't have to dance around jumping and shooting while you're holding the run button as well. So I do 2 shots. Once I land, I start holding run again and do the 3rd shot. That's about it. This jump is a little tricky. You can't go a full jump, hit this corner right here. So you can't do a full jump. And it's good to practice the backup. You kind of have to gauge it. That's probably the hardest thing I find about this room is gauging, knowing if you're going to have to do the wall jump. Because sometimes you think you might make it, and then, you trust that you're going to make it and you don't. You could, in theory, as well as you jump across, if you think you might not make it, again, if you aim down, you're bringing your feet up. So you might clear the platform. If you don't think you're going to make this jump, you could just do that. It's a little riskier, but something to consider. Okay, so you should have 1 super exiting this room in the strat. The coolest way to come through this next room is a door check. So you run at the door, and just as you approach the door, you push left. And you should have that animation. So you're in spin jump facing leftward. This is actually not too hard to do. When you're moving fast, which you will be getting to this door, it's not too hard to grab this door. And then you're in sort of the right position for it. Kid, should I just keep going through to Kraid, or did you did just to this point, right?
Yeah, and some of these are kind of intuitive in terms of what you can do with the easier strats. So just go ahead and run through Kraid and show your Kraid method, and then I'll close with the charge Kraid.
Right. Okay, so there are a couple of strats here. There's 2 rooms coming up where there are strats that I like to use missiles if I have them. So if I grabbed other missiles on the way through, I will, if I grab 1 pack of missiles, I should be at 7 missiles coming into this room. And then I can use the fastest ways that I like to use. So the fastest one or the one I like the most is if you come through this room facing this direction, all you have to do to shoot this little girder is just hold down and shot as the room fades in. So if you just hold those two buttons, it'll open up this girder. Some people like to damage boost off of that guy and get you down here. That's also great. That's the strat I will use if I only have 5 missiles. I'll do a damage here. One thing to note: delay your pushing right if you're going to do this damage boost. Don't do it immediately. The way I do this normally, if I have extra missiles, is as soon as I shoot, I actually shoot and flick my thumb over to change to item select. So I shoot the P shot, and then I'm automatically on missiles. And if you do it well enough, you can also then turn into a ball and come down like this, drop a bomb here. It's a little faster to do a mock ball here if you can. It's not a big deal, though. While you're traveling through this area, just like in early supers, if you hold L and R here, when you unmorph, you can stay in the crouch position and shoot up. That's usually what I'll do. A straight jump will get you through the door. You can't spin jump, though. If you spin jump, you notice that it doesn't open the door unless you break out a spin with your angle button. So if you're going to want to spin jump up, you have to wall jump. The way I like to go through this room, again, if I had this next room, if I have an extra missile, is when I shoot this door, I will hold item cancel, rather, and select missiles. So I've got this item cancel thing where the missiles are flashing, meaning if one missile shot, and I will now, and it'll go back to P shooter. This is a nice strat to use if you can. It's pretty cool. You just aiming up and hitting the first missile, then aiming down and hitting the little crack in the floor with the P shot. If you do this, though, usually you might get hit the third key or the second key hunter. So I turn around and I aim down. Again, I use this aiming down thing a lot, and you won't get hit by him if you want to try that strat. The easiest way is probably just taking damage and running through like that. If you don't want to take damage, if your health is low, you can try to jump over them. It's pretty tricky, though, because if you mess it up, you're sort of in hell. You're in this area where there's all these guys, and then it's sometimes hard to make the shot if they're kind of bouncing you around. So that is pretty hard to get. So generally, unless I'm really low on health, the easiest way is to just take damage and then try to shoot this thing and come down. All right, missiles selected coming into this room. So for my ammo, I use the 3 super Kraid strat here. So coming in with 1 missile, 1 super is great. All I do here is 1, 2, 3. And then if you want, you can do this 2 ways. You can either hit him with a super, which is going to work just fine. It'll end you up with 4 supers at the end. So you can 1, 2, 3, switch to a super, and then kill him with a super. And if you do that, you should get 4 supers leaving the room. If you wait around, a 5th super does show up. So if you're low on supers, you can kind of use that as your, so if you want an extra super, you can just kill him and wait a little longer. And there's the 5th super. If you don't want to waste the super, if you have enough missiles, he gets killed by 2 missiles. So the references I use these spikes in the roof for this guy. When these spikes pass off the screen, I hit him with a super. When these spikes pass off the screen, that's when I start shooting 2 missiles. Supers travel a little faster, so you have to be further to the side to hit him with a super. So this is what I use when this passes off screen right here. So this is the spot for missiles. This is the spot for supers. Usually when you shoot him, you'll have to jump over his spikes and then shoot the door and run through. Okay. So this room, you don't really want to have, because if you're looking for a specific ammo item, then you might have to wait here a long time, especially if it's a super. So if you need supers, wait for Kraid to give you an extra one. The easiest way is coming through and hitting this guy with a super like that. A slightly harder way is to do a damage boost like this. It's actually not that hard. Because all you have to do is if you just turn around, face left, and damage boost like this, it's pretty easy. Spikes give you, I think, 10 frames to after you take damage. You have like 10 frames to trigger the damage boost. So it's actually usually pretty free. It's a little bit faster. So I jump all the way over, switch to supers, damage boost, and come into this room. All right, Kraid. So, like I said, I use the 2 missile, 3 super strat. Setup for that, you have to stand in a position where I use my feet as a reference. When my toe is over the edge of this platform, that's a fine place to be. There's a little bit of play, but that's where you start it and you ball up and then select missiles. That's how the beginning of this works. Okay. So the order of this is 2 missiles, then 3 supers. I think there's there are 2 parts to this that are hard. The first one is timing the 2 missiles, spacing them out properly. So the first missile hits Kraid. The second one, let's say that again. The first one hits him and causes him to open his mouth. The second one should hit him in his mouth. The timing is is relatively precise. You have to shoot them pretty close together. What I find I do, if I mess this up, what I do most often is I press my fire button too fast, and then I only fire 1 missile. So you have to kind of time your missile shots. That's probably the hardest part of the missile section of this kill, is timing the missiles. Something that I've learned, though, is you can kind of use the music for Kraid to know the pace of your missile shot. So Kraid's music as he rises out of the ground is sort of bum 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 bum. So I use the two last beats of the music as the tempo for when I'm going to tap my missiles. So I think of it like da 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 tap tap da 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 tap tap da 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 tap tap. So as I'm waiting for Kraid to rise up and I'm listening to the music, I use that to sort of inform me of the speed that I'm going to need to use to fire my missile. So while I'm waiting, I'm actually practicing with my finger. I'm kind of like listening to the music, and I'm just on the side of my controller going bum 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 bum, just practicing like that. And then when it's time to do the actual 2 missiles, I find it easier to hit that. So that's the first part. The second part is the probably the hardest one, is the first super missile. Timing the first super missile is very tricky. I don't really have a good strat to explain how to do this first missile. I do it entirely based off of feeling. And so I don't know what really I can give you with that, but I'll show it to you a couple of times. I use a stupid grip. Zoast uses a grip sort of like this, where he's holding his controller like this. I use the opposite. I hold it this way. So I have the D-pad towards my body. So I'm essentially using 2 hands all on the face buttons. I don't necessarily advise it, but I found it easier. I found it more consistent. You don't need to press forward at all, or any of the direction pad stuff at this point. So if you find that you can do it better with 2 hands, feel free. So you got 2 missiles. I unmorph right around when his hand starts coming up the second time. So this is the second time I unmorph right there. And then there's 2 missiles using that musical reference. And then the next part is just 3 supers into his mouth. I do 3 shots, 1 up, 1 down, 1 up. But you don't need to. It's a little faster, but you can do just 3 jumps if you want. 1, 2, 3. There's more than enough time to make that happen. If you can go into the 4 super strat as a backup if you mess this up. Usually if I mess up missiles. So I'll switch now, charge a shot, wait for his hand to drop the second time, and then try it there. I just missed it. I'm not as practiced at it, but it's good to know that if you mess up the 3 missile strat, you can use this as a backup. So just after his hand drops, that's when I shoot the charge shot, and then hit him with 4 supers. I found this is kind of fun. If you want, you can use a bomb for the first jump to shoot the 2 missiles. It's a little bit laggier in the room, but it gets you up to the right height. So as Kraid's hand scrolls onto the screen when it's in its resting position, just before the hand, he raises his hand the second time. So just before that second hand raise, you can lay a bomb. Oh, that's too early. So if you lay a bomb right or before his hand raises a second time and unmorph, it's just it blasts you right into the perfect position to hit the 2 missiles. So you don't have to jump then. You can just shoot. And then if you do that, you can pretty much jump right away. Once you land on the ground after the bomb, you can pretty much jump right away to shoot the missile, the super missiles. So it might help you with timing for your super missiles. I don't know. I tried that just the other day and I thought it was funny. It will lag the room a little bit more because you're adding another sprite to the room, but you might find that, interesting. That's all I got really. Kipp, you want to talk about your the four super strat?
Yes, I'll make this short and sweet. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I don't run this strat anymore, so it's very likely that I'll kind of maybe mess it up. But generally speaking, here is probably the easiest way to do this. This is where you're going to use a charge shot. Here, I'm just going to show you the first mechanic. I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible. If you charge shot Kraid with his hand down in the face, his arm will stay down. And so it allows you the opportunity to shoot 4 supers. Now, technically, you only need 1 regular missile and 3 supers to kill him. But with this method, you can use 4 supers, and you don't have to do any extra inputs and all that jazz to switch between items. So here's the easiest way for you to learn how to do it. And I really can't teach it to you beyond showing you what I look for, or what I used to look for, because I actually run the 2 missile strat now. But I'm going to show you what to look for, and then you just have to grind the muscle memory. So here's what I would suggest. When you get in the room, butt up against this wall right here, hold R or L, okay? Notice that it's just easier to turn around and not go very far with R or L. Like sometimes if you don't have it pressed, you'll move a little bit faster. So press R, turn around, and then just turn into a ball. Okay, so I'm basically as far to the left as I can get without moonwalk. And you're just going to turn into a ball. Now at this point, notice that his hand is up, and then it's going to come up a second time, and we're going to want to shoot him when it comes down the second time. So what I do is when I see it up the first time, when he starts to raise it the second time, I stand up and start charging, and then I jump and shoot. Okay, so that's step 1. All right, the hand is coming up the second time, stand up, start charging, jump and shoot, boom. Okay, now at this point, you just need to watch his eyes. His eyes are going to flash. When they get done flashing, you jump and shoot a super, and then you just keep jumping and shooting 4 supers with a certain rhythm. I can't really explain it. You just kind of have to do it. And it's not a strat where you can know, you can't fire one and then be like, did I get it or not? You just kind of have to roll with it and keep going. And if you did it right, then they'll all hit. And if you didn't, well, you're kind of out of luck. But basically, here's what it's... Hopefully I can get it here. Well, I was a little late on that one. All right. Eye flash, jump, shoot, and that first super will lock his mouth into place. All right. Notice that I waited for the eyes to flash. Okay. Wait for the eyes to flash. Boom, 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 boom. And notice, look at my inputs up there. It's like B, it's jump and then shoot. It's not like at the same time. It's like jump and then shoot. Jump and shoot. 4 missiles. Boom. There's the Kraid quick kill. So everybody, real quick, we were going to have Q&A sessions at the end of every segment. We will, I'm sure, do more of that in the future, but we're really aiming to get these things to 2 hours with a 20 to 30 minute talk with, somebody from the community as well. So we've gone a little bit over again tonight, which is perfectly fine. I think we made a lot of really good progress through not only, getting to hear from Zoast, but also, through the opening portions of the game through Kraid, which I hope will be very helpful for a lot of you guys. So we're going to do this again, hopefully in 2 weeks. We might even do one a little sooner, just depending. I promise you, every week, this is going to continue to evolve. I have plans to add custom art to this, maybe even some custom sounds. I can tell you up front that we've got people like Elminster, RTA, Sloters, Topsy Turv, Overfiend, Galamaz,